Hi, this is Jim Tolles, and today I want to talk about physical pain and spiritual awakening. This is always such a tricky subject because you never want to run to the conclusion that just because you're feeling physical pain, it's a spiritual thing. Usually what most people do is they run to the other conclusion that there's actually something physically wrong. And that's not a bad thing to go check in with a doctor, your MD, and then check in with other people, naturopaths and energy healers and all those types of things. Because there's a lot of different ways that we can facilitate healing and to engage with different things that are shifting inside of us. Now, why do people feel physical pain? It's essentially resistance. It can be conscious resistance or unconscious resistance. For most people, initially, it's just they're consciously resisting what's going on. So when I'm saying consciously right now, I'm just saying they're intentionally trying to not change. So here's this awakening. They see that all those love and beauty, and they still want to hold on to this, miserable job or this relationship, or even a good relationship and a good job, because they're invested in it. Their ego's invested in it, and they are afraid of the unknown. And so they try to hold on to this thing where their deeper self that's emerging is not interested in it. That there's just nothing there for it anymore. Whatever lessons you needed were there are complete. It's time to move on. And so in holding on to it, it just becomes really, really painful, emotionally and intellectually, and then it can even become physically painful. So people kind of report all sorts of different types of feelings of pain or discomfort, from pressure on the top of the head or on the forehead. I mean, it really can be kind of anywhere. It just depends how you are. And so what you're going to do is you're going to learn a lot about your own energy system and your body, because your body is carrying all your stories inside you. And a lot of what happens for many people is we're releasing these stories from the mind, from the heart, from the body itself, and from the energy body and that psychic field that we have. So going through all these layers at different times has different levels of intensity. When you drop into the body, it can be physically painful. And so the next question most people have is like, well, what do I do? And it really is, as much as possible, relax into what's arising. Assuming you've done all your basic checks, make sure that you're not actually having some strange disease arise. Although, everything is so interconnected, it's all energetic. So even that, whatever strange diagnosed disease can suddenly disappear just because the energy in us shifts, the pain or dis-ease in us releases. And I don't want this to be naively understood, just like, anytime something serious comes up, you just, say, hey, I'll do some energy healing and it'll all go away. It's like, I can't say that. Everybody has a different karmic path. For some people, their karmic path is to be disabled or to deal with multiple sclerosis or something like that, right? So this is part of embracing the whole of life and understanding that everything is possible. Usually when people say everything is possible, they're doing it in a very sort of innocent and naive way, where it's like, well, anything being possible, anything good, anything that fits in my good bucket, that I've determined that I want. But also a lot of dark and disturbing and painful things are also possible, and this is part of what scares the ego, and why people hold on so tight, is because another part of you does know this, that anything is possible. So we're never naive about the physical pains that are coming up. But as I said, assuming you've checked out with, anything serious with the proper people that, work for you as healers. And I'm not going to, say it just has to be like a Western MD. There's all kinds of wonderful healers. And it feels at this point that, there's nothing actually wrong with the physical body. Then you just allow that it's energetic. And you start to drop into your body more. And your body is very intelligent, and what I've often talked to students about is tuning in to different parts of your body. Where is this pain located, and what feelings arise, what stories arise? Pay attention to it. As you pay attention to it, you'll start to tune in, and you may actually start to see stories like, here's this thing that happened with my mother when I was 5. Or, here's this thing that's in my left hip that happened with my brother when I was 12. It sounds funny, but when these things start to arise, and you start to see it and notice it, it is a revelation. And you can be just so stunned. I mean, any of these things as they come up become revelations in and of themselves. And I remember, in an earlier part of my life, it's like, man, having a revelation would be awesome. And then awakening comes, and it's like I'm getting a revelation every week. And when you have those, it just requires you to continue to heal and to open and to clear and to do all your practices, meditation, journaling, whatever you need to do, energy healing. Baths do a lot for people. Baths and showers, stuff with water, this whole washing away. And you drink lots of water for most of us. That's another way to clear out toxins. And so you go through these cycles of clearing. And as I said, as you get into the body, you can have pain anywhere. Like, I'm not going to say it can be this place or that place. There's a lot of people running around talking about all sorts of symptoms, but really the whole of your body, anywhere in your body, can have a physical pain related to something shifting spiritually. And that's just the truth of it. Every now and then some people ask me, it's like, well, I've got this particular pain. Have you ever heard this before? It's like, that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if I've heard it or not. What matters is that you tune into your own knowing. You say, what is going on here? And if it's a spiritual thing, then you start to trust. And you can also ask your inner knowing, is there something I need to do? And sometimes it's simply rest. It's amazing how simple it is. Like the ego wants like this long process and, all these different things and salves and, 15-step process to releasing pain. And if that's necessary, then you'll know. Quite intuitively, and you'll call in people into your life, whether actively or, more passively. And those people will show up and you'll be like, this is what's going on. They'll say, oh, try this. A lot of people do that with me, right? They more actively call me in. So like to engage with me as a spiritual teacher means you reach out to me. Like I don't reach out to other people and say, hey, do you want this? It's like, no, they come to my blog and they leave something in the contact form. And then, if it feels true to me, I, talk to them and I'll say, hey, so what I'm hearing is this, and this is what feels true to me to share. This is what I'm guided to share. And one of the wonderful things about moving through something in the body and releasing the pain, it's not just the release of the pain, but usually what comes after is also another opening. Now, as I've talked in my blogs and other places, we go through these cycles of expansion and contraction that can be really fast during awakening. And usually what happens after that contraction, when we contract down, we're getting down into that pain or that core issue, is we start to work it out and it grinds and grinds and grinds, then it releases, and then it doesn't just release, but then there's this deeper opening. And so I can think of like something shifted in me like last August, and in my left hip, suddenly there was this added flexibility. It sounds absurd until you experience it, and then you're like, wow, I didn't know that my body was not only holding this pain in that way, but that was causing actual physical tension, that was causing things to contract, the muscles to contract, things to hold, that was not allowing as much movement there. And this, and the hip example I just gave you is just one of many that I've had. There wasn't a lot of pain there for me. Most of the greatest pain I've had was in my back. And it was kind of like the heart opening. It felt like this, somebody doing this on my back. And it was really, really uncomfortable. And when it left, and I felt really expansive and loving and really and amazingly broad, and then I've kind of integrated into that. And that's another piece that I want to just kind of briefly touch on, is each time you release something and you integrate it, the expanded space feels different because it becomes your natural space. And so it's never going to be exactly like the initial high experiences that you get when you first kind of move into an expansion, because as it settles, the deeper held embodied space is a very solid, strong, but flowing space. It's kind of like you have the roots of the tree and the quality of the river and the quality of the air. Like you have all these kind of movements, and it's kind of elemental, I suppose. But that openness allows you to be free-flowing and expanded, but at the same time rooted and grounded, and you can see the world as it is. A lot of people get very ungrounded in this process, and they can't focus and they can't see straight. And that's okay for a while, but we are making space for it, space for this awakened self to live and to grow and to nurture us. And so we have to nurture it. So pain will arise at times for some of you, and it will pass. And I think, the most important part for most of you is really to set an intention in your mind that you're letting go of the things that you need to let go of in your life, that you're resting into this space and relaxing and taking care of yourself with meditation and other practices that you have. Because as you do that, that allows you to start to work down into the unconsciously held pain, the pain we don't realize that we're holding on to. It's like involuntary muscles, that are just clenching. Those those you can only really get to through relaxation and especially your inner knowing, because those are kind of the ones where you don't even know that they're there. So that's a topic for another time. The things that we don't know that are there, after we work through the mind. But I think for most of you, it's enough to just start. It's like setting that attention that you're going to embrace this awakening and you're going to meet whatever needs your body has. If it's telling you about different painful stories, you're going to address those painful stories as is appropriate. So I hope this is some helpful material on physical pain and spiritual awakening. You can find my regular thoughts at spiritualawakeningprocess.com. Once again, my name is Jim Tolles, and I hope you're having a beautiful day.